Is interactive. Tonight we chat with a team from the Barbados Transport Board, and our call number is 228-5562 and 228-5563. Unfortunately, our email facility is not working tonight, so you'll have to call us. We take another call. Good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Peter.
Yes, sir.
I guess.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yeah, this is Mr. P. If a bus is supposed to leave its destination at 11 o'clock, what time should that bus be in the bus there? And at what time should passengers be allowed to board?
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. That's a very straightforward question. To allow a punctual departure, what is
Our basic standard is that the buses are supposed to go into the departure gates 15 minutes before. So if the bus is leaving at 11, the bus should be in the bay at 1:15. And then we have a set time that at least 10 minutes before departure, passengers can start loading. One of the challenges, though, with meeting that commitment, and it depends on what route the caller might be looking at, some departure gates have more than one service that will be leaving
from them.
So the 15-minute is just a set point, a framework that we have in place, but that is the standard that we're looking to get there.
If the bus fills up early, it can go early. If it fills up in 5 minutes.
And in 15 minutes it takes, if it's going to take a full bus for everybody to get us on, it would take
15 minutes.
Yeah, it takes about 15 minutes. The 10 minutes, because they were going to get 15 minutes before, 10 minutes to really load. So it wouldn't depart that early.
Now, I'm often fascinated, especially in the United Kingdom, when you go to a bus stop and you see the bus should be getting here at 35 or 36 minutes past the hour. And then you see a GPS tracking system with a light telling you where the bus is. And then at 36 minutes past the hour, the bus actually arrives. And you're fascinated to think that even with traffic and all of those conditions, they're still very punctual. Will we ever get to that stage in Barbados where we can track buses by GPS, and I can go to a bus stop and know that if a bus is supposed to be here at 4:15 or 4:17, that at 4:17 it will be here?
That is a development that I can see coming as well. As Mr. Bovell would have mentioned earlier, the technology, transport world has changed with the technology, and our ETM system works off of GPS.
Okay.
We haven't utilized the model that would tell you when the bus would arrive at your stop, which takes plotting your stops, and the actual GPS works off of the mileage, how the speed, so that it would constantly be changing to the bus stop that is approaching. But that is definitely something that would help the reliability of the service, because you would know within 3 to 5 minutes where the bus would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate, Peter, that one of the challenges has to do with the congestion
on the road,
of the roads, which can retard the limitation of time. So if you can work on that and then make the assessment of how the buses travel, and the level of congestion, especially the peak times.
Okay, it makes life a lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but we're working on that.
All right. Okay, we take another call. We appreciate your response to this program, and we try to get as many calls as we can in. Good evening, welcome to the program.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there are two questions I would like to look at.
Can you ask one instead?
Well,
the most important of the two.
Okay, well, there's very short questions. One is that I think that we should look at a 24-hour service, 24 industrial workers and entertainment
Next point.
workers. And the second one is I think that we should also look at the whole idea of creating the condition for travel to be done on the coast, because I know Transport will put in the express bus service, but I think that there's a need to be able to move people faster, especially during the morning period, traveling from the north to the south, and on evenings traveling from the south to the north.
Okay.
That's my question.
Thank you very much, sir, for your intervention. So we have two questions. I don't know if you all have a seafaring component of the Barbados Transport Board. You all envisage being able to take to the sea at any stage, providing sea ferries and whatnot?
Well, I have always argued that we need to look at the other aspect of the transport system, because again, we need, as a developing economy, to move to the sea. Because we have the lanes, say between Spice Town and Bridgetown, or Spice and the whole town.
So there may very well be in the future another department of the Transport Board that deals with naval operations.
Well, it's something that we can look at moving forward.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Not naval when we correct it as military, but
no, they're not naval, but in terms of using the sea lanes,
sea lanes
to ease traffic congestion.
The 24-hour service.
Well, right now we're not looking at that. That wouldn't be one of our short-term objectives. But as you said, based on constant route reviews, that would be something that we can investigate.
Because I certainly have often thought that at the point in time when breathalyzer testing becomes popular in Barbados, for better or worse, because there are different views on it, there certainly will be a need, I mean, to feed our entertainment infrastructure with buses. And that's a big challenge for people when you go to parties and events and so on, to get home afterwards if you don't have a car or a taxi. It's challenging. So this is something which may very well happen later?
May very well, because as been asked before, we have had calls from the Hotel Association at one point in time, but that didn't get too far. As you said, the climate has to be right. Certain things have to be in place to make sure that it operates well. And then you still have to have a balance of efficiency as far as what the demand is like. And the demand wasn't as high as expected at that point in time. So as I said, it will go with some study and some review before such a thing is implemented.
Okay. All right, we take another call. Good evening. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, seeing that there's a bus from St. Jude's, we have a bus service from St. Jude's going to Oistins. Now there's a bus service going from Oistins to Spikestown and now on to Warrings and so forth. Is it possible to have one going from St. Jude's to Spikestown? How viable is that?
Okay. Thanks a lot for the call, ma'am. Of course, it's a difficult thing for us on this program in these constraints to respond to these kinds of individual queries. So I would ask if people who call could present more general questions, because these kinds of individual queries are difficult for the team to respond to. Having said that, however, I'll ask the team if they can give a response.
Well, I have to agree with you, because what we did before we launched the Spikestown to service, we did have some studies. We had a number of people calling in, so you had an idea in the beginning of what the demand would be like. So it's important that persons use the channels that are there, our website, or our Facebook, and call in the areas or services that they would like to see, so we can investigate and go through surveys as we're doing now with the university to see what the demand would be, because it still has to be a viable service. But anything can be done once the need is there.
Malcolm, earlier you were telling me about the core values for the Barbados Transport Board, and you started, but you didn't finish because we had a commercial break. What are some more of these core values that you were...
We mentioned reliability as the third one, and the fourth is courtesy. I think that once our staff are seen very courteous, and then also the public also can respond by being courteous, then there can be that interconnection between the Transport Board and the public. And this is critical. And in terms of our training programs, we often emphasize that the customer is very important. So we have that interlocuting relationship. I think that we can lift the level of the Transport Board and the public at large. And in addition to that, we have the team spirit within the Transport Board, working together to achieve the objectives. And this is critical as well, so that we can then carry forward our program. In terms of technology, though, we also want to look at the smart card technology, whereby we can have, say, a monthly, weekly, and daily passes. But this comes with reliability. So once we've reached the position of being reliable, then I think the public is going to respond to that activity of purchasing monthly cards, weekly cards, and daily passes.
Okay. What are some of the other developments that we can expect in terms of the Barbados transport system? We were talking off-air about this issue of air conditioning buses, which is something that I feel very strongly about. Is it likely that in my lifetime we're going to have standard air conditioning buses across the board in Barbados?
We believe that if given the resources that
we
don't have the give the resources, but it's not beyond us, because we have to upgrade the infrastructure. But primarily, though, the charter service, which is very significant portion of the business, where we provide service to the schools, churches,
air sea transfers as well.
That's correct. So once we could get that service for those persons, we can extend to the general public. But the charter service is a very significant part of our business.
But the idea of having facilities in standard, that's still a little way off.
It's a little way off, yes.
What about the disabled? Because I know I need to ask that question about standardizing disabled service where, as again, you use your international thing where persons who are disabled can catch any bus, and all the buses are fitted with the facilities to take up a disabled person and house them on that bus, as opposed to what you all have now, which is a specialized transport. Is there any logic behind the specialized approach, and is it possible that in the future we will be moving towards all new buses being equipped to take disabled people? Which is the ideal. Yeah.
Well, there's a special logic behind it. The Transport Board is on board with the National Disabilities Unit. We know they would have a charter we've signed on that speaks to transportation and having a percentage of your buses that come in fitted have wheelchair accessibility.
Okay.
One of the challenges that we've found, and it goes back to all agencies working together, is with the narrowness of the network and dropping off points for persons with disabilities, we still have to have a certain standard as far as curb height and so on.
Right.
So where you have certain developed countries doing that, they have certain standards as far as curb height. I know we would have started with Bridge Junction. We will have it more accessible for persons with disabilities, so all that will have to come on train. So the Call and Ride service that we provide has been in existence for 2 years now is the first step to that, whereby we do some door-to-door pickups for those persons that would not have a personal aid or someone to help them, but we go into their environment. Even though we don't physically lift them, it's easy, and it has helped quite a number of persons to really get to the hospital and do some of the things that we take for granted.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the fare is standard?
Yes, the fare is a standard fare, and it comes under the Ministry of Social Care.
Oh, so they don't pay? Oh, okay. So it's better the standard is free. All right, we take a call. Good evening. Welcome to the program.
Hello, good night.
Yes, good evening.
I'm calling St. Clair. I live in Eastview, St. James. There's a bus that comes from Erie Park, St. Thomas, the Bridgetown bus. It comes down after 6 because they're like 6 o'clock. Now, there's no bus until after 8. I was wondering if there's any possibility that we can have a bus in between that time at all.
Okay. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Again, a very personalized complaint. It's difficult for us to respond to these complaints. I want to stress that this is a challenge that we have tonight. But as we did before, I turn over to the panel now. Is this something that you can respond to?
Well, the answer would be the same. It forms part of our route reviews. We're actually going on all the routes and seeing where people are moving from, and there's also a customer survey component in it whereby persons tell us what they need. So we have to assess it first before we can answer to those individual, prospects. Now the report isn't in as yet for us to analyze. We're coming near to the conclusion, and after that, then we'll be able to inform the public what our first phase of enhancements would be.
Okay. In terms of feedback on complaints, you said that there's actually a number that persons can call if they have issues and concerns, a dedicated number?
Well, yes.
Are you launching a dedicated number?
We're going to, we have a customer service department right now, and that is one of the sites that persons can call through. So they can call us through our switchboard, really. It's 310-3500, and they will be easily dispatched to our customer service agent, and that person deals directly with the complaint. If they can resolve at that point, they would provide the information needed or direct it to the individual manager that can resolve your problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are ample facilities for persons to respond, to be able to make complaints and have those complaints responded to.
Yes.
What about the issue of vandalism on the buses, the school children? This has been a major issue on the calling programs where the school children are ride for free, and there's a feeling that school children are taking over the transport system and destroying the buses, and that the Transport Board has to have a system to respond to all of this. Is this something that you all have taken on board? Do you routinely have to go to the police station with school children that are behaving badly? Is there any reality to this, or this is just speculation?
Well, yes. Based on our standard, if there's a disturbance on the bus, whether it's a student or an adult, the driver will first try to get those parties to separate, not by physically touching them, but asking them to desist from what they're doing. If they do not follow that, then we will contact the police and get them come to the site wherever the bus is. If the driver believes he is in close proximity to a police station, then he will seek their assistance doing that. As far as the school's children and their behavior, we just launched an outreach program whereby we went into the schools to speak to children in class 4 who will be moving into the secondary schools from September. And the idea was to highlight some of the behaviors we don't want exhibited. Hanging from some children getting they don't sit properly, they stand in the stairwell, there's a lot of tossing of missiles from bus to bus. We have a number of those complaints. So we're trying to resolve that and educate persons as to the dangers, inform them if you're a child that might be being bullied, where you can go to seek assistance in the terminal so that we can, help them. So that is a program we're going to be continuing with the summer camps as well.
Excellent. Okay, well, we